doing little vlogs and so on Facebook, raising concerns within the community, different community calling on the powers that be, to do something. Case in point, the Bonnet government, the bridge by Bonnet Government School. And I, made videos, posted up on social media. It got a lot of views and so on. And that, it was no way to, to discredit the MP or show them off in a bad way. It's just a voice of the people trying to, reach out to the relevant authority because we felt that they were not listening. And this kind of catapulted me to want to take that bold decision to attempt to be the next parliamentary representative. And here I am today. We made an attempt in the elections. We were not successful, but I still use that as a stepping stone. So to do something bigger, better next time, if God spare life and we decide, to give it another shot. So in life, whatever that you do, there will come failures, but you don't stop there. You keep pushing on. Because I can assure you, the person who invented this microphone, or maybe this system that which we're speaking of, they didn't get it at one shot. So my brief remarks here is just to encourage you and encourage the youths of St. Mark. You are the leaders of today, and you are the leaders of tomorrow. Your role or your presence here tonight is a testimony that you lead by example. So let us encourage each other. The people who were not able to make it, you can share whatever that you learn here. And it's your opportunity, because it's about you, your opportunity to speak out. Say what it is that you would like to see happen in your constituency, in your parish. You want what is best. What do you think is best for us? And I say us because I'm still a youth. What is best for us in the constituency? I may not have all the ideas. Something that, a young person as young as might be Dion, if I might use you as an example, might be able to share. What do you think is best to help in the sport that you play? Right? So use this opportunity for you to express yourself without fear, without any favor, and most of all, you do it respectfully. So thank you very much. I look forward to your meaningful engagement. Have a blessed evening.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator Britton. TEA spells T, right? So at what time you realize the E and the A in T is silent? Think about it. So, once again, I want to say thank you for the comments, Senator Britton. And we're from St. Mark, so we have to make Mark. At this point, we would like to call on our dear minister, because since in Guelph, me and I going at it about St. Mark is the best place. So, Minister, welcome to St. Mark, the best place. So, Minister Honorable Delma Thomas, Minister of Youth, Mental Health, Wellness, and Religious Affairs, will just give us a few comments. Let's welcome, Minister.
Good night, everyone. So let me acknowledge on the head table my colleague, Senator Quince Britton, my coordinator of youth, Mrs. Colin Perriman, some addition, I'm not sure what that is. Staff from the Ministry of Youth, St. Mark resident, young people. Pleasant good evening to every one of you. Let me say, I am always very excited and happy to be with you, young people, to hear from you, to work with you and to ensure that you realize your dreams. And so the poem speaks clearly of us not only engaging part-time or understanding and appreciating the issues that confront young people. And so that is why we are here. That is why we started this series of youth talk across Grenada. And so we are here tonight. Tomorrow, please God, we will be in Carriacou. We have been in the other parishes before. And so we'll continue to engage you. So it's the start of things to come. It's the start of engaging you, and so implementing plans and programs based on what you want. So as government, we have a responsibility, but we cannot make rules and regulations or policies and plans for ourselves, for you. We believe that we have to engage you, and you tell us what you want to see as it relates to youth development across Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. And so we have decided to start engaging you, and we are engaging you here tonight. And so we will climax that first series on Sunday with what we call a national youth rally and recognition ceremony, where we recognize some of our heroes. In that session, we'll also unveil our award in going forward, where you may be able to identify heroes and prominent people, young people in St. Mark's, people who have made tremendous contribution to be awarded next year when we have that grand award to start from the first time, but will be a yearly activity. We also will be engaging you in 2025 on the block. So we have you here in this formal setting tonight, but we want to say to you that that's the first phase. The second phase is coming with you and seeing how the young men can cook well and see if we can taste their hands and what the young ladies can do. So we'll have the social interactive session on the block. I'm pleased to announce tonight that Cabinet has listened, because we've been going around for a while and people are identifying that we're doing things for the male and we have not done anything for the female. People identify that within the manifesto of the National Democratic Congress, it speaks to people who finish school at the secondary level, at even the primary level, and even at the TAMCC level, and in some instances do not have a real skill. And so Cabinet has approved the Elevate Her. We are elevating you, the young people. It's an initiative designed to uplift and equip young women with the tools, training, and confidence they need to thrive in today's competitive job market. By focusing on gender-specific challenges and aligning training with available opportunities, Elevator seeks to create a pathway for women to achieve financial independence, leadership roles, and career success. You may ask, what's the objective? Skill development for employability, providing young women with job-relevant technical and soft skills in industries that currently hiring, such as healthcare, hospitality, skilled trade. We also have information technology, but that will be the program that deals with cybersecurity and would involve not only women, but will also involve men. And this will train 100 young people. And that training will be launched on the 4th of this next month. And we are hoping that we can every year train more and more people in that particular skill. But I'm back to the objective of elevating our women. And I know the young men are not jealous because we are doing for them too. We believe in our young men and our young women. Entrepreneurship and financial independence. Foster an entrepreneurial spirit among women by offering training on business development, financial literacy, and access to resources such as business mentorship and small grants and even small loans. So we are not just providing you with training and leaving you in a training program for years and years, but we are providing you with a training with a clear exit strategy that provides you with jobs, where provide you with an avenue where you can set up your own business, that provide you where you can work together with a team to gain financial freedom, leadership and confidence building, encourage leadership and personal growth through mentorship program, job placement. So we believe that after we train you, we can't just train you and leave you on the side or leave you to fend for yourself. So we will be assisting you, as I said, to either finding jobs, and so the placement areas that we're putting you in, we are having these discussions beforehand. So we are not just going to tell people, well, we want to give you 10 young people, and then at the end you say, well, government should continue to pay because we can't pay. So those negotiations will be upfront. You help us train, and at the end, you train them, and then you're able to employ them. Not only employ them for $700 or $800, but to ensure that they get, after training, over $1,200 per month. And so that training initiative will provide you with a stipend, and there are different skill areas as we go on that you would know. We're going to sign an agreement with TAMCC, because we appreciate that in order for us to seriously develop as a country, we must invest too in agriculture, in our tourism sector and all that. So most of the training will be surrounding around the fields where we know that there are jobs readily available. So you even have general construction. We make it look like if it's a man job, but there are women here who can paint. There are women here who can learn the skill of tiling and make monies. So we'll go and provide you with the necessary training that will enable you to take up those jobs, because the Minister of Legal Affairs will tell you that every week she has to sign hundreds of work permits, bringing in foreigners because we do not have trained people to do particular jobs. And so based on that, we will be providing you with the training. So Elevate Her will provide you with some training. In the new year, and part of our youth policy that we will launch on Sunday, you will hear more of the other initiative as a government we are putting in place to ensure that we provide for you. Recently, Cabinet has also approved a fund that will provide small grants for groups, youth ambassadors, youth parliamentarians to work at the level of the community. So you may see a small project that you want to do in the community. You know, most times when we see small projects, we have to come to the MP, or we have to go to Senator Britton, and he will have to come to either Ministry of Youth or somewhere. What we'll have, if you have a group and you have an idea, we can help you develop the idea and provide you with the assistance and the funding to help you to develop your community. And so Cabinet has approved that $5,000, and so this is a start in the right direction, you'll appreciate. But as we move forward and we see your different projects, we will be able to insist that that $5,000 may not be able to do what you're asking, and whether or not can we approve something else based on a project that young people identify within their community. You see, brothers and sisters, you have a government that cares about youth development. You have a government that cares about empowering you. You have a government that do not believe in only leading you when an election is called, or coming to you when an election is called. In fact, we're only 2 years plus in office, and we are engaging you. We are listening to you. And so we are implementing plans and programs based on what you told us. We are not coming and sticking down your throat and say, we're giving you that. Those things that we're coming, we're giving you back what you asked for. What you identified when we come to you tonight. So we have heard in other areas, and in many instances, they are consistent with youth needs across Grenada. And so we'll hear from you tonight in St. Mark. Maybe you may have a new idea, because we know it's in Sunset City. You may have something that you want to see happen, and so you'll identify, and once we are able to do as a government, we will do. I also is pleased to announce that as a government, we collaborating with TAMCC, as I said earlier, and so when we visited there, we realized that they had this two dilapidated building from since Hurricane Ivan. You know, sometimes we hear what people say, we care about young people, we care about education. But if since Ivan 20 plus years ago, You have a building that is TAMCC, and I saw someone said, well, TAMCC is in my constituency, but I cannot go to TAMCC as a statutory body and fix a building. So it has to be done within the Ministry of Education and TAMCC together. But we were able to go, the Minister of Education and I, and Minister Williams, and got cabinet to approve renovating and developing the TAMCC in the rural community. And so we'll continue to work with you. We'll continue to put programs in place, continue to develop, continue to provide more scholarships. You know, as a government, every year we give more and more and approve scholarships for nursing, for doctor, and we have not done enough in terms of promoting. So you are hearing that this government doesn't care about young people, and that's because, so we have to take the blame for that. Because if we are doing and not promoting, the amount of children who get scholarship and financial aid to go to UWI, to go to SGU, to go to other universities abroad, but have you ever seen it in the news? So we have to do our work. We have to showcase what we are doing as a government. And so I'm happy to have Mikey live with us tonight. So he's broadcasting to the nation, and I know you have a broad viewership. So thousands of people will be hearing what the government is doing and what the government will continue to do to empower young people across our country. So we'll work with you. And we do not see you young people as the future. You know, long ago we hear that the young people are the future. The young people are the? You are the? Now. No, you all sounding like you're not sure. But you are the now. You can do what we are doing. You can take up leadership role. And so we want to urge you to take up those opportunities that this government have for you. Find out, research. You know, sometimes we stay on Facebook and we like only the other things and not looking for those important things that will enable us to empower ourselves. Reading is also very important. So yes, I know sometimes when you see long posts, sometimes you do not read. You say, well, you prefer to see the videos and all that. But I encourage you to read because reading is fun and it also provides empowerment. So I think I spoke a lot, and I think the main reason I came here was not to speak so much, but to hear from you. But I'm also want to say to you that in going around the Empower, because you know we launched Empower, over 400 young men across Grenada, and including the prison. And so when I went to St. Andrew, the young men came and they said, this $700 we're going home, that's enough. Do something for us now. And so I raised it at the level of the cabinet, and I'm pleased to announce that cabinet has approved an extra $200. So really, they too are getting $1,000, but we hold back $100 to ensure that at the end, we are saving for them, so they'll get it after. So they go home now with $900. As a government, we'll continue to empower you. So this is a stipend aimed at empowerment. It is not a stipend forever because our aim is to ensure that we provide real jobs for you, that you can find real salaries at the end of that one-year training program. And we're not leaving the young men just like how we're not leaving the young lady. So we will be providing mentorship for you even after the year to ensure that you reach your truest potential. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister. And I'm certain that you paid attention to all the opportunities that are available, so take full advantage of them. Yes? As a division, we hosted youth parliament in the different constituencies, and we basically upgraded to having like what you call youth elections. And from St. Mark, we have 2 young and vibrant candidates in the forms of Mr. Akim Philip and Ms. K.L. Cyrus. So are there persons in the room who registered to vote? Who registered? Okay, so we need to get more persons on board. So at this point, Mr. Akim Philip, would like for you to come and just offer some brief remarks, 2 minutes, you know, to let the persons, the youths of St. Mark know your plans and for them. Mr. Akim Philip.
So good night, everybody. Are you you all doing tonight? I know the weather is a bit. All right, so my name is Akim Philip, and I'm running for the Youth Parliament representative for St. Mark's. Right? Why am I running? Because I believe the power in young people. Right? I believe we have the opportunity to shape the future. We have the power, and we have ideas. We have new ideas, innovative ideas, which we can use to help shape the future. Right? We are the ones who would have to live with the consequences of the decisions that are made today. So I think that we need to be part of the decision making. So that is why I'm one of the reasons why I'm running. Now, some plans, just a few, if I'm elected. One, mental health. It's time we prioritize mental health. We need to access proper support young people who as stigmatized, basically. It's looked down on. The moment you hear mental health, you start thinking of persons that just walking down the road and all these things and them, and we don't look deeper into it. So I think that is one of the areas we really need to focus on as young people. The suicide rates and all these things and them, we need help for young persons to avoid and to curb a lot of those things. Recently, we had an incident where a young man committed suicide. I think it's one of the constituencies. Right? I think if proper mental health courses and such was given, it will help cover a lot of those things. Persons help with emotional intelligence and all those things. I think young persons really need help in that, and that is something that can help them having classes and all these things to help them. Another thing, education. We need a system that not only prepares us for just exams, but we need persons, because the reality is a lot of persons live in school, and when you look at it, sometimes they're not employed. You leave school with a lot of different subjects, but you're not employable. Or there's so much persons with that same subject or that degree, you're just basically in a fish pond. Right? There's so much persons inside there with it. It's difficult to get work. So I think we need to equip persons with skills, more skills, and get them qualified in a variety of areas. Coding, the CVQs and all those things. You need persons in those areas and in those fields. Another thing, climate action. Now, recently, we have seen what climate change, or the effects of climate change, right? We had floods, we had a lot of landslides and all those things in those areas. Someone lost their life. So I think that's something we really need to try and cope. And some of those things are things that I will champion for if elected in St. Mark, right? The replanting of mangroves, education about climate change. Again, we don't really need to go far to see the effects of climate change. We're seeing it right here, right now. We're not immune to it. I think as a Caribbean country, I think we're more prone to it than most other developed countries, because we were seeing the coastlines washing away. Sandy Island was at a point in time was almost gone, so it's affecting a lot of our islands, right? So I think that those are things that I would be looking at. Plus, there's much more sports, having more sporting activities within the community to bring the community together, after school classes and programs for young persons. So I mean, the reality is a lot of young persons, when they come from school, primary school and all those areas, they probably don't have the parents at home at times to help them with homework. Maybe start a club or a class where they can come and get help with their homework and all those things. Right? So we have big plans, which we want to do, me and my team. So if elected, those are some of the things you can look forward to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Philip. But you forgot to tell them to go out and vote for you. I don't understand. And now I would like to call on Ms. K.L. Cyrus. She is also the second candidate for St. Mark. Ms. Cyrus.
Good night once again, everyone. Good night, everyone. Good night. We are young, we are vibrant. Come on. I am KL Cyrus, your youth parliamentarian candidate for St. Mark. Living in St. Mark for 20 and just enough years, just enough. Even you, we all can attest that we are broken. We are not unified as we are supposed to. Yes, we have so many zones in St. Mark where we can come together. I'm here to speak to you about our community involvement. Many times we think of a community outreach project or program. It may mainly be streamed around Victoria, but then there's Fontaine, there's Digopis, there's Samaritan, there's Ressource, there is Maran. Now it's time that I, by God's grace, together with that group of people that has pledged allegiance to assist, to ensure that we have a wide spread programs throughout Grenada, throughout St. Mark. It's not only about Victoria, because yes, Victoria is a town, but we have so many other towns as well in St. Mark. Even when we look at our students, even as a teacher, I can even attest to that. There are so many students that always say to me, Miss, I really wish I had someone or even a program that's there that I can go to after school to get an extra push. We all are not inclined academically, but some of us are inclined to the vocational skills or even to the soft skills. So therefore, there will be a program in place that can assist students in the after-school program and even to give you, the young people, the skills that you will need for vocational and soft skills if need be. There are so many others I can attest. And even now, I can even bring to you for our small business owners. I can even bring to you Mr. Navin Philip, for example. He is a business owner. And I know for a fact he is one of those persons that would love to expand their businesses. But how can you get that money that you need? So, soft loans. This is something that I will really like to partner with another organization because the need is there in order that young people like us can be able to venture into such businesses. So once again, youth, to those of you that have registered, registration is on December 5th. And let me share a little secret to all you. Election day is on December 5th. Sorry, I make a mistake. I'm so excited. So, election day is on my birthday. So, that's all I'll say. Listen, I do not stress me out on my body. That is my body. So December 5th, we're going to vote. And those of you that are listening online, there are other constituencies as well. So you make the choice. So once again, go on and, KL Cyrus, empower youth, empower change.
Thank you, Ms. Cyrus. So that means they have a lot of cake and everything on that day. All right. So we're moving on. As we say, a big word. I'll use a big word. We're procrastinating. Look it up in the dictionary. You won't find it though. So at this point, we will have a little bit of entertainment before we get into the real meat of the matter, where you ask your questions and so forth. So at this point, we'll have our two-time karaoke champion of Grenada, Carriacou and Pitimatnik, Miss Akeda Lewis, to come and do a rendition for us. Miss Lewis. And she's also a youth associate for St. Mark.
Good night once again. I could take the mic. I was born strong. I was made for this. See, I met so many hard times when I thought I couldn't make it. See, I had my trials when my pillow dried my eyes. Then the morning came and my wings took flight. I rise. See, I'm hurting but not broken. down, but I won't die. I rise. Soon I will reach the sky, and still I rise. Some say it's a mystery how I still believe that in spite of all I've been through, I can still push the will. See, I have a power they can't see with their eyes. It's a little thing called faith that makes broken wings fly. I rise, though I'm hurting but not broken. Down, but I won't die. I rise. Soon I will reach the sky, and still I rise. Who can understand when just an ordinary man defies the odds and still fights on to win? I can take it, I can make it. I rise. See, I'm hurting but not broken. Down, but I won't die. I rise. Soon I will reach the sky, and still I rise. I rise. See, I'm hurting but not broken. Down, but I won't die. I rise. Soon I will reach the sky, and still I rise. Thank you.
Let's give it up one more time for Miss Lewis. So the song said, they know you're broken, but remember, broken crayons still color, ain't it? And then sky is no longer the limit. The world gets to modernize. It's only the view, so we have to aim higher. All right? So that was just the smoke. We still have more to come. Miss Corona John would also come on, bless us with a rendition. Miss John?
Good night. I am going to use this opportunity again to perform to you my original song. It's called Grown. It's very easy, it's very catchy, so you can sing along with me in the chorus. Everybody wanna put me on their waiting list, and all they want is for me to practice patience. Like I'm not someone who has a mind of my own, and I can't make decisions, they feel I'm not grown. Everybody see me as a little picnic, can't move alone, someone have to guide me. Like I don't have a voice, someone has to speak for me. Why I'm grown, tell him, why I have a mind of my own. Why I'm grown, tell him, why I have a mind of my own. As a child, I didn't have a choice but to sit down and practice obedience. I never had a freedom of speech, never got the chance to voice my opinions. Tell me, when am I going to escape this life? Feels like I'm just stuck in this circle of life. The minute time I say what's on my mind, everybody wanna act all deaf and blind. Nobody wants to hear me, I feel like a dummy. What else you want me to do? Why, I'm grown. Tell him, why, I have a mind of my own. Why, I'm grown. Tell them, why, I have a mind of my own. Don't let nobody tell you that you cannot make it. Keep it real, be true to yourself, never fake it. Your old ways, better replace it with something clean and new. Say me don't want none of them in my circle, me no want none of them in my space. Me no want negative energy around me. No, 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 no. Why, I'm grown. Tell him, why, I have a mind of my own. Sing it. Why, I'm grown. Tell him, why, I have a mind of my own. You know. What? I'm grown. Tell them, why, I have a mind of my own. Why, I'm grown. Tell them, why, I have a mind of my own. Thank you.
All they want is for me to practice patience. Like I'm not someone who has a mind of my own, and I can't make decisions, they feel I'm not grown. Everybody see me as a little pygmy, can't move alone, someone have to guide me. Like I don't have a voice, someone has to speak for me. Oh, yeah, I'm grown.
Okay, I want to welcome our dear Senator Seville Francis, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Well, Karana said she's grown, and that brought me back to school days. You know, so we're in school and everybody, you know, oh, what you want to be when you grow up? Oh, want to be a policeman, a doctor, you know, big thing. But funny, I'm the only person within my school class that turned out to be what I wanted to be. Guess. I wanted to be a big man. All right, so, Senator, you take a deep breath. You're going to give us 2 minutes. Or you need a moment? All right, she'll do it. So let's welcome Senator the Honorable Seville Francis.
Minister for Youth and Sports, Honorable Delma Thomas, Senator the Honorable Quince Britton, Coordinator of Youth, Ms. Perryman, young people of St. Mark, pleasant good night to all. Pleasant night. My apologies for being late. It was not intentional. I actually came from another event in St. George's, but I could not have missed an opportunity to be with you here tonight. Allow me to take the opportunity to congratulate you and thank you for braving the weather and being outside here tonight. That is commendable. It shows that you care about the future of your country and what's at stake for you. I'm not sure what was said before, but in the event that it was said, I just want to echo the sentiments of my other two colleagues. This event shows that we are committed to engaging and involving the young people in the democratic process and in the future plans and aspirations that this government have for you, for us young people. So I want you to not take this opportunity lightly. It is one that is going to be beneficial for you as we head into the new year. We put together the plans, programs, policies that will benefit you and the future generations of our country. So I encourage you to come up to the mic, don't be shy, do whatever it is that you need to do. It's something that I say at all the other talk series that we've had, and I think it's prudent that you also, that be shared with you. I want to remind you that you are the future, but the future is present. You are the future, but you are also the leaders of today, not just tomorrow. So show us tonight that you are leaders. Show us today that you want to lead the country and the policies of the young people in the right direction. Thank you so much, and again, thank you for being here.
All right, thank you, Senator. So we are getting into the business aspect now, where your views, you just aim your questions to the head table. So are we ready? So who would begin? Questions? Okay. Ms. Walsh?
A pleasant good night to the Honorable Minister of Youth and other distinguished guests at the head table. Good night, everyone. So 2.5 years ago, during the election campaign, we, the people of St. Mark, we were promised a fishing jetty by the both major political parties. However, I have not seen any progress. I've not heard any discussion in regards to the fulfillment of this promise. Now, given that our young men are so passionate about fishing in all the communities in St. Mark, however, the lack of modern, well-equipped facility prevents them from being able to work optimally. My question tonight is for the Minister of Youth. How can your ministry assist with entrepreneurial support and training in regards to assisting young men as young as the secondary school level who are interested in becoming fishermen? Because I remember when I graduated from the St. Mark's Secondary School, most of my classmates, from my community, which is Waltham, they said they wanted to be fishermen. Now, some of them are plying that trade right now, but of course, they need so much more support from our government. Additionally, can there be formal programs that teach our young men skills such as net making, or boat building, or first aid, or even additional skills that they may need, that when they go out into the sea or into the ocean, that they are properly prepared and that they remain safe? Because at the end of the day, we rely on them for their fish so that we are able to sustain our health and they are able to sustain their livelihood.
So since Senator Britton was the one who promised the jetty, I'll start with him.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Welsh, for your question. And now, usually in election campaigns and so on, you'd hear people making all kind of promises. And this is not just a promise. It's something that I hold dear to my heart, mainly because a jetty is a bridge that connects the sea to the land. And a jetty is not just, primary purpose of a jetty is not just for fishermen, right? So we have 3 vibrant fishing communities, and we are the only parish in Grenada without a jetty. A promise was made during the election campaign, and I'm sure many of you saw a billboard up down by, if I may just use Mr. Anthony Patrick shop close to there. You saw a billboard up there with a promise of a design concept, and that's all it was, a design concept. When we got into office, I went to the gentleman who did the design concept. I asked what is the latest on that, just to get a heads up and so on. And to my greatest surprise, that nothing concrete, and when I say concrete, no environmental impact assessment was done, no proper design and so on was done, and it was just a design concept. So you go on Google Map, you decide this is the idea that I have, this is what I'm going to do. And I don't know if many people fell for it, but a few weeks ago when we had a meeting here with the fishermen, and I was invited to a meeting organized by the fishermen together with the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and the whole issue came up as government is a continuum, what's happening there, and I had to share some light on it. However, we are committed to doing it. It's a process. The process involves that we must do an environmental impact assessment. If not, we could end up with the same thing as what happened in Sotes. For example, if you look right now in Victoria, behind the city, behind the Anglican and Catholic Church, you notice there they did something there where they start dumping some stones and so on. That has adversely affected the lower end. If you look down behind by Leslie, by Peace and Love, if you notice what is happening down there. So when we're doing those kind of projects, we have to take all that into consideration. And we are committed to doing it. I know it is something like a noose around my neck, because I have raised the concern, and all the time we weren't talking about jetty. As I spoke about it, then you see, other people start, talking about jetty and so on. But with the other concerns that you raise, and so as it relates to the first aid, this is something that is very, very critical. And in order for us to do this, we have to be doing it in a structured manner. So once the fishermen, and maybe through your assistance, because you was very eloquent in your delivery for them, so you sound like the voice of the fishermen, we can organize. We have some members of YAC here, that's a Youth Emergency Action Committee, together with Mr. Sylvan McIntyre gave his commitment to do first aid training and so on in that regard. We are also committed for them to do a little training in small engine repairs. Because if you break down at sea, you cannot wait for a mechanic to come from the land. So some basic things. So it's very, very important that what you spoke about. What I can tell you that we will be doing in 2025 for the fishermen and I will wrap up in that regard, for the fishermen in Waltham, they had raised some concerns where they have their bins and so on stored, how it's difficult for them, and it's costing them a lot when the bins are out in the sun. So we are going to put a temporary, well, we're saying temporary because the facility there was catering to when you had just about 15 boats or boat owners, and it's double that amount now. So you need a bigger facility and so on for that area. And Waltham is one of the communities that many a time the record is there to show that they catch more fish than what the fishing capital normally boasts about. So it's something that we are looking into. And as to put a timeline as to when a jetty would come, that's something that I cannot say right now. But when we start the whole studies, environmental impact assessment studies, and doing the designs, we will do it not in silos, but in partnership with the fishermen, because we have to look to see where is the best place for us to put that jetty, whether it's Waltham, Victoria, or Duquesne. We have to look at the depth of the water, how the waves and so on would affect it. All those things we have to look at. So it's something, like I say, I hold dear to my heart. So once the fishermen, once you can get them to organize themselves, training and so on is not impossible. and we can do it. It's something very simple because we have the resources at our disposal. Let us help. You can help us organize with them so that they can be better equipped. I hope I answered your question, and Minister Delma doesn't have to say anything.
So the other aspect that speaks to teaching skills at school, especially those soft skills and even the other skills as it relates to fishing and agriculture and construction and all those areas that is so needed in our country, it is part of the government's trust. It's part of what the government plans to do as it relates to education. The Minister of Education is not here with us tonight, and so we will take some of the ideas that you gave, but as a government, we have policies as we move forward in terms of setting up skills at school, and so you will hear more of it from him and in the budget. So I cannot speak in depth because I did not come prepared, but I do know that it's part of what government planned on doing.
Okay, thank you, Senator and Minister. Any more questions? Okay, Ms. Mitchell at the back.
Good night again. Well, I have questions, but more of a kind of request. As a youth parliament debater and also a national youth debater and also a member of CYN, right? I wanted to ask the Prime Minister that request, but since you could pass on the message. So should I hold back my question in asking him, because this one is ready to him. So I'll hold back that question for when he comes, right? So my next intake is, I always have a passion because I come from Clogier, and we always had this club called Homework Club. And to be honest, that helped out the youths in my village where I come from. Because if you pass up there on an evening, you may not see anybody on the street. During the day, you may ask why. The reason for that, everybody is occupied doing something. So I came up with the idea with Mr. Philip in doing something for the young people, like a homework club, and not only for children. I wanted to help mothers as well who cannot read and write, because there are basic homework that they could help the kids with, but they cannot explain it. So I wanted to, like, being as they had the resource center of my area, I wanted to use there as somewhere to help them to learn to read, even young adults who drop out of school and cannot cook or stuff like that. I had person voluntarily willing to volunteer to help me out in those situations in helping others. So as you said, there is grants and so forth. As on behalf of Mr. Akim Philip, because I'm one of his candidate representative, well, more like I would say manager, because I'm there right through. So I'm requesting that will be happen in my area, and I'm not looking only at Union in St. Mark's because that's my area of interest, but I'm looking also at Victoria's, and there are buildings there. It's just voluntary and funded we need. I know there are a lot of people who come home from work early and they willing or wishing to volunteer. So I don't know if you can help us with that. Basically, we don't have to wait for Mr. Akim to win to really do that. That was my dream from long, and it started in my community, right? So that's one. Secondly, I have a question. Will there be, I know like children do MCPA and they send them to secondary school. Will that be continuing next year?
As far as I know, there hasn't been any change, so I would say yes.
Thank you. That was just something I wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Any more questions? Okay, Ms. Cyrus.
night once again. In St. Mark and even in Grenada on a whole, there are so many young people that are passionate for environmental science, but I would say environmental management. So many that always look forward to volunteering the time. And I can even point out Angel Augustine that is sitting right there. So I have many questions, but I will only ask this one for now. Is there any plans for young people in Grenada to become much more involved in environmental management?
So, over the years, government have been given scholarships in different fields, and so we are here tonight, and so we can take this as an area of where we can provide scholarships, where we can provide training, because we know that preserving our environment is so very important. And so if we can have our own specialized or specialists in those areas, as a government, I believe that that's an area we can capitalize on. And so we have Monroe College that the Minister of Education spoke about, that will be providing 50 scholarships every year, I think, for Grenada, and they call it first generation, where if in your household nobody graduated from a university before, and graduate don't mean only like a first degree, but it also means the skill set, because there are skills that is equivalent to the first and second degree, the level of the skill. So these are areas we can look at. It is not something we come set in stone to say that we have it already and we can say yes, but I'm saying that based on what we're doing and based on how we're looking to provide different kind of scholarships and not only the norm, that is an area that we can look into.
Also, before I take the next question, as Minister spoke about scholarship, now environmental science comes in different forms. So we have, the Marine and Wildlife Program that SGU also offer, and we do have scholarship available for anybody who's interested in that. You also asked about engagement of young people in environmental management or, of our country. I'm not sure if you are aware of, if you would remember, for the last, not the very last, but the COP before that, we had a bunch of young people accompanying the minister and the team out there to witness and to be a part of the, was COP 28? 29 was this year. So, COP 28, yeah? So that is a step in the right direction, that we are providing young people with the opportunity to be involved when it comes to managing our environment and taking care of our environment, because we know that one thing leads to another. And if we're not taking care of our environment and we don't know how to do that, then the effects of climate change will come upon us, and they work hand in hand, yeah? So these are some of the things that we have, but because of your question, then it can, Ms. Perriman is taking notes on our behalf, so that is something that we can look into to see how much further we can develop and add to what is already being done. So thank you so much for the suggestion.
All right, thank you. Ms. Augustine?
My question was basically surrounding exactly how you ended that discussion. It was surrounding climate sustainability and how we're planning on providing knowledge for youth growing up, because a lot of children growing up don't understand how we can be or provide a sustainable environment that can actually withstand the changes that is going on with the climate. And going forward, we understand that the earth is warming at a rapid rate, and we understand that this is something that we have to implement in schools. A lot of people don't understand that the climate was never this severe, and I think providing knowledge and trainings and skill sets on how we can actually tackle these areas is very important, because without an environment, there's no future. Also, providing life-changing trainings. Well, I'm a part of the project that Senator Britton mentioned that is going to happen in Victoria, St. Mark. We want to go into the rural areas of St. Mark because Victoria is always so centralized, always, focused. So we want to go to Maran, we want to come to Waltham, We want to try Diamond, but given if we have enough persons who are available and want to partake in the training, that can happen. That training will be just focusing on disaster management, risk reduction, and also preparing persons in their families and in their schools, wherever their workplaces are. We can help them provide disaster plans for those areas. So that will also encompass everything regarding the environment and, focusing on providing knowledge as well for persons who need it. Thank you.
I'm really happy that you stood and presented. I did not hear a question, and I heard lots of suggestions and recommendations. And I am really happy to see a young person, a young female for that matter, I don't mean to be biased, taking something like that head on and being on the ground to implement and to, create the change that you are looking for within your community. One of the things that I can encourage you to do is, you mentioned that you belong to a group, the YAC, right? So at the Ministry of Youth, we have recently approved a funding of $5,000 that is available for groups in the communities who wish to engage and take on projects similar to what you're speaking about. Yes, so it's something that you can tackle and tap into. I'm sure Senator Britton would not mind sharing the information with you and channeling it through us. Yeah, so thank you so much for. Yes, and you can stay tuned to our Instagram and Facebook page where we will provide that update going forward.
So I want to make one point, the level of brilliance coming from our young people right here and even here. So you see, even question the adult cannot answer, which is me, my good senator here is able to answer and provide you with the information. So we are happy to continue working along with our young people and appreciating how knowledgeable they are. So we thank you.
But Minister Simpson Guava, I told you, St. Mark is the best. I told you that. No. We have the only tongue in Grenada. And we have whole wheat breadfruit. You don't get that nowhere else.
So just let me commend Angel and her team. This is a wonderful initiative, and you have my support, 100%. You can also, we'll talk some more through community development, whatever assistance that you may require. We can provide some additional assistance to you. Also, young people of St. Mark, the change, as I mentioned earlier, the change that you wish to see begins with you, right? Initiatives like these, you participate, you come together and do something, right? I remember not too long ago, there was this talk on Facebook, whereby our social media, where we saw the underperformance of our athletes at a national level. And when I say our athletes from St. Mark, we are at a disadvantage when we go and participate in the national primary school games, or even, secondary school is not based on a parish, but the primary school games, national primary school games. And we sit and we complain. So I made a post. And the power of social media, it's far reaching. And I said, why, instead of we sitting and we just talking, why don't we come together and do something, form an athletic club? And like-minded individuals like myself, Mr. Denver Welsh, all the principals of all the schools within the parish, we came together and we formed Momentum Track and Field. Mr. Akim is part of it. Mr. Shad Noel is part of it. And we have a bunch of kids. Well, I show we have more than 20 kids or children coming out on a daily basis, training in the afternoon. And I told them at the beginning, and I said, listen, it would not be an easy road ahead, but at least we make a start. So I say all that to say that you don't have to wait on government to do something. We can come together. You have like-minded individuals. You come together and you do something to make a difference. And This is why we are here, to support whatever initiative that you come up with. That is why we want to hear from you what ideas that you might have and so on. We always boast about Victoria have the best tasting water, right? The best tasting water, and no, we are.
We do.
Yeah, we have the best tasting water. We could, if you have any empty bottle, we could fill you up and send it off. All right. So, we can do something to start bottling our water that we have, because we have abundance of water. All right. Even during hurricane, we don't have that problem with water going and so on. So I just see that just as an idea and so on, so you guys could start thinking of what it is that you can do. All right, thank you.
Okay, we have Mr. Philip.
Good night, everybody. So seeing as we're on sports, I have a few questions to ask tonight, so I'll be sitting and standing a few times. Now, the government has always maintained its desire to help young persons, especially in the sporting field, right? I'm going to ask this question pertaining to education. What plans does the government have pertaining to physical education teachers in primary schools? Because I've seen physical education teachers basically being removed from primary schools. They send coaches, but they're not basically stationary. They move them to different areas. Because based on the holistic approach in education, I think physical education is an integral part of education. So what is the government's plan to bring back physical education teachers into the primary schools specifically?
So I am here to answer a question that is Ministry of Education, but I do know that from the Ministry of Youth standpoint, working with Ministry of Education, we had a number of trainees over the years working in schools, and so in terms of regularizing them, one of the initiative is to ensure we place them in schools, which include primary school. So that will be part of what we're gonna do, and maybe we'll get more information from the Minister of Education in terms of that policy from Ministry of Education and be able to pass it on to you.
Okay. Anymore? But when you go to the bakery to buy bread, and they ask you if it's plain or whole wheat, right? But don't you know all bread is whole wheat? All bread you have to hold with your hands. Any more questions? All right, Mr. Philip again.
All right. So, climate change. We were just speaking about climate change. Question. Well, we recently had a landfill on fire, right? Perseverance. I think a lot of persons are passing through Perseverance. Now, one of the issues or one of the reasons why that usually happens is because of the methane gas leaking into the soil. My question is there any plans to basically find out how to trap those methane gas and use it for how you have that reusable energy basically? Because we have a landfill, and the methane gas is basically it aids in climate change and the destruction of the ozone layer and all these things. So, is there any way or any plans to help use those?
So you are coming with some very brilliant questions, but I cannot answer tonight. So I will have to get back to you on those questions. So we are recording, and so we'll be able to find the answers for you. So thank you for this question.
Okay, Mr. George, I think I saw your hand.
Oh, just before Mr. George come in, Mr. Philip, there is a gentleman somewhere in St. Andrews that he uses biogas, right? From pig, right? From the feces from pig. He uses that, and I've seen at the last climate change summit conference that they had in Radisson earlier on this year. He even showed you how you get electricity and so on for it. He power up a generator. You can use it for cooking and so on. So that you raise, that's a very, very important point, and we are noting. So the Minister of Climate and the Environment, we will bring those suggestions to her so that they can explore. So at least we could bring down the cost of energy in this country, because we know we burn diesel here to produce electricity, right? So if we can have alternative source and so on, and so that we could help bring down the cost of energy as well as save the environment some more. So that's a brilliant, very brilliant suggestion. And if you notice also in Perseverance, the old landfill, I don't know if you realize there's the vetiver grass that they plant there is to help with the methane gas and so on. So it is there for that purpose. And there are some pipes and so on that you saw there. It's also to help so that we don't have those kind of reoccurrence with fire and so on at the old landfill after they cap it and so on. So that's a very brilliant idea.
Mr. George?
Okay, hi, good night, everyone. Just two little bits. First of all, I heard mentioned earlier on about sustainable jobs, right? We're preparing young people for the job market. But there's just a few things that I want to highlight here, which is of great concern. Now, firstly, we look at the whole issue of experience needed, right? So somebody's entering the job market, a job is advertised, and one of the key highlights would be 10 years experience. Now, I don't know how that's working. You're just entering the job market. You're asking for 5, 10 years experience. Even looking at some of the programs that the ministry have, it still does not extend to such time. Normally they go for about 1 year, 2 years. So I'm wondering now, how is it really feasible for someone to be entering the job market having 5, 10 years experience? That, first of all, to me is very ridiculous, right? The next thing is concerning the whole issue of the scholarships. I'm not sure how much scholarships are really attended to every year, but what I do know is that lots of persons who go out to study, they really don't come back. They really don't come back, and there's a number of reasons for that. One is the job atmosphere, and secondly, which is the biggest concern that most persons kind of tend to evade, which is compensation. You know, nobody wants to work for $2. Everybody wants to be rewarded based on the work that they do. Nextly, we look at two things. Whereas
Can you take one at a time, because we won't be able to respond?
Okay, so no, that's under the same thing, right? That's under the same thing.
No, the first one is different to the last.
Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah. All right, so since my mic is on, I'll just respond to the first one. You asked about, or you referenced jobs asking for a certain level of qualifications. Now, from my experience, those kinds of jobs are usually specialized jobs, so that requires some specialized qualifications and skills. So you cannot fault the employer for wanting that level of qualifications. Now, yes, I have seen other job offers that may ask you for 1 or 2 years, 1 to 3 years experience, but you're coming, let's say, from secondary school, you went to TAMCC, from TAMCC you went to SGU, so you do not have that level of experience in the world of work. But there are a lot of things that you can do in between that can give you experience that you can then transfer as experience. I'll use myself as an example. If you look at my CV, you would ask me, where do I find the time to do all of those things? I invest in myself. I utilize downtime. I am a part of groups that it's probably too much to hold on one page. I volunteer my time. While I was in school, I worked at the computer labs. I did tutoring. All of those things comes back as experience. The thing about it is, how do you put that information out there to make you marketable, to show that, hey, I can do this? That is the problem. It's not what you do, but it's how you do it. You cannot just put on your CV, I attended secondary school, I went to TAMCC. When you were there, what were some of the things that you engaged in? Were you a part of the Cadet Corps? Were you a part of environmental groups, all of those things. Did you hold a position as treasurer within the organization? That shows that you have accounting skills to some level, to some degree. Were you the president of an organization? That shows that you have managerial skills. So it's your way of marketing yourself. That's why CV development is important, and that is something that we're trying to our best to incorporate into our school system, as so that when they go out there, they are equipped. That is also one of the reasons why the educational curriculum has changed, and we are also allowing persons to stay in school longer, because after Form 5, we know that most times, if you just think of yourself, when you left secondary school, do you think you were ready for a work? No, but now we are realizing that there's a deficiency when they leave secondary school to go out into the world of work. So that's one of the reasons why we're changing the education system to ensure that our young people are equipped and they have the skills and whatever it is necessary to go out there into the world of work. So these are some of the ways that you can gain those experience. I always say to people, volunteerism is important. It comes back and it helps in a big way. I was a part of the Youth Parliament program for a lot of years. Hey, and I'm a senator now. I'm just saying that these things, they actually help. So do not take these programs and volunteer opportunities as, just mere programs and whatever it is, but use them for what they can actually, do to benefit your life.
All right. So the next part of that is now concerning the whole issue where persons are not returning from the scholarships. What are we doing to ensure that our investment is paid off?
So let me just, again, my mic is on, so I'll answer that. And I'm answering it from a personal point of view here. I always say, I always say that it comes back to individual responsibility and our civic duty as citizens of Grenada. We have the bond agreement that everyone who receives a scholarship has to sign, right? And probably you're right. We should be enforcing that bond agreement that we have. In my humblest opinion, I think we're a bit too lenient with that. So I'm happy that you raised the question. Now, when I had the opportunity, I signed a bond agreement when I got a scholarship to go to SGU. Upon completion, I had the opportunity to travel to 2 different countries. And while I was over there in those countries, based on what I went to do, I was given the opportunity to stay and work. I was offered opportunities to stay and work, but I did not. I simply said to them, no, I have a responsibility to my country, and I will be returning to Grenada to serve Grenada first. Okay. Not everyone takes up those civic responsibility. So that is the answer from me to your question.
And now we'd like to welcome our Prime Minister, Honorable Rickon Mitchell. Prime Minister, welcome to the best place in Grenada, St. Mark. All right, be seated. Senator, continue.
Okay, my last question is, I've heard of many programs, and this one is specifically for the youth department, that seeks to help persons who don't have a job, maybe those who may not have finished school or just at home, right? But the truth is there are lots of persons who are in the job market who are also interested in business ventures. Now, most of the programs kind of evade them because they're at work. But however, there are lots of persons who are interested. Is there any plans from the Ministry of Youth to help those persons try to realize their business venture? Does the Ministry of Youth have any plans for those persons?
So we do have programs like the Youth Business Initiative, whereby you can have the trainings on the afternoons and be provided with small grants, with a really small interest rate. So that program will be relaunched and unveiled in a new way with new with extended paths. So that will enable persons who are employed and looking to form a small business to access those programs. So there are a number of programs that we have that will be launched in short order. So we stay tuned to our Facebook page and to the media as we unveil our plans for our young people.
All right, thank you.
I have one extension to the answer. Now, we need to remember that youth is not just within the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Youth can be found in every sector that you think about. So we have GOCA, which is the Grenada Office of Creative Affairs. They have opportunities for young people who are interested in that field. We have SIEP, we have GDB, we have GIDC, we have the Youth in Agriculture. There are almost every sector that you think about, or every ministry, there are opportunities for young people who are interested in starting businesses within those different sectors. So I want you to think broad and not just think the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Even with our Empower program, at the end of the program, they have the opportunity to go the entrepreneurial route as well. So there are a number of programs, but as I said, think broad and not just think the Ministry of Youth and Sports.
All right, thank you, Mr. George. Mr. Noel is a big, big, big youth.
Big in. Good night, everybody. And I'm welcoming, I'm happy to see our Prime Minister in our vicinity. It sends a strong signal that you care and that you're interested in seeing the youths move from where they're at. Now, my concern tonight is mainly to make a few suggestions. And I want you to take it objectively. From time to time, we see people come to this institution here, spend 5 years, and they end up on a boss door, pulling boss door. You know, I often ask myself, because it seems to me that we're still faced with the harsh reality of unemployment. No government could provide for every citizen. But in my own way of thinking, simple, I find that while the person is in school, they should, or the institution should be able to identify what they could do best. In our community, we are in agriculture, we have lands. And many times, I lie down on my bed and I think, why can't the government send somebody and study herbal engineering? Yeah? We have hubs here. And we see the tourists come and they identify the hub, they come, they take photos. Yeah? And they go back and they find they have the best use for the hubs that we have. The government can find and provide direct employment in that area. I'm just giving suggestions. Another area is the alternative sentencing. You send men to prison who don't mind their children to eat the government tax money. Why can't you send them in the lands? The alternative sentencing. Send them in the land to work the lands and ensure that the mothers get what they need for their children. They will be paid and they don't have to go to prison. Young people who find themselves in problem with the law, this is an area where you can sit with the magistrate. We can invent the wheel. Sometimes we have to think out of the box because you see it being recycled, you see it happen over and over. Mr. Prime Minister, I'm very happy to know that you have good intentions for the youth. And tonight as I come here, and I listened to Minister Thomas with some initiatives for the youth, I feel you are securing yourself for re-election for the next time coming forward. Because the youth is a burden for all of us. We need to pay more attention. And I'm zeroing on what I see with my very eyes. I see youth bees in the past year in Victoria there. When I find out, I heard it's no longer in operation, subject to correction. I reached, he had youth bees in every constituency or in every parish so that the people can be trained, educated, and given the support they need to empower themselves. I say thank you tonight. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Noel, for the support for the youth. Any more questions? Okay, Ms. Mitchell had a question for the Prime Minister. Oh, okay, Ms. Barry.
Hi, good night, everyone, and to the head table, a special good night. I have a series of questions and suggestions. One of them, according to a GBN article published in November 2020, there was a total of 82 children who were sexually abused in the period of January to September of that year. That statistics is only for a few months in 1 year. And that is only what was reported. There are many more which go unnoticed on a daily basis. Whenever there is a publicly known assault, we make noise, we make all kind of things on social media, and then in a few months, not even months, in a few weeks' time, the water goes back to calm. I am therefore calling for a change to the outdated laws that exist for dealing with matters of sexual abuse, especially for our minors, as well as the establishment of a sex offenders registry, a national sex offenders registry. Now, there are groups on social media who would usually post people who are known to be sex offenders, but we need a national sex offenders registry, all right? Too many of our youths are being left broken and oftentimes alone to deal with the effects of such actions. We saw the speedy actions taken to tackle and bring changes to gun legislations, so I definitely know that the same can be done for our youths and women and men and young men, boys and girls, who are going through that struggle. They are silently crying. Some of them, they cry out with their actions, because a lot of sexually abused young people, they either act out. You might start seeing someone acting out and you might say, well, what's going on with that child? What's going on with that young man or young lady? She was not like that, he was not like that, all right? But that is the outlet. That is how they express themselves. Right? And on that note as well, I am also asking if more can be done for our boys. A lot of time focus is placed on the females, the girls, the women who are sexually abused. But a lot of our boys are sexually abused. A lot of our boys are being groomed. And you see it happening. If you listen something, you listen, even boys in their play. Sometimes something is happening at home. Grooming is happening at home or in the community. And you hear those same young ones who are being groomed are doing it to those in their friend groups, and they do not realize what they are doing, right? So I am asking if counseling can be offered for boys in general. We cannot just say, okay, this one might be going through it or that one might be going through it. The boys are usually silent. So I'm asking if counseling can be given. So even though it is not happening to them, but they recognize the signs, they recognize what they should look out for. So by the time someone approaches them, they know. Or they can feel confident enough to come out and speak to someone. All right? So that's one of my suggestions and question suggestions.
Thank you, Ms. Barry.
Okay, so good night, everyone.
Well done.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to respond to, well, first of all, let me say thank you for highlighting all of the issues that you've highlighted, and also highlighting that there are times when things are done quickly, and you've signaled, for example, with the legislation dealing with firearms. So in relation to sexual offenses against children, which includes both boys and girls, and women in particular, as you may be aware, on Sunday, the Ministry of Social and Community Development actually had a church service in St. Paul's to mark the commencement of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, specifically against women and children. But prior to that, the government, even prior to our administration, have been involved in an initiative called the Spotlight Initiative, which is aimed at addressing the systematic challenges we have with sexually related offenses and gender-based violence against women and children in particular. And coming out of this should be a number of legislation that we intend to pass to address some of the, I would call it, tolerance or permissiveness in relation to sexual offenses against children and minors in particular. Part of the challenge is that there are sentencing guidelines which judges and magistrates follow. And also, and this is something that we have to be honest about, because I'm a lawyer and I go to the courtroom. Sentencing is not always the exclusive, while ultimately a judge or a magistrate may make the decision, there are a lot of things that goes on before the judge or magistrate will make the decision. For example, the position of the prosecution. Sometimes the prosecution and the defense counsel actually presents a solution to the magistrate by saying, if there are 3 or 4 offenses, we don't think the evidence is strong enough for 1 or 2, so they drop 1 or 2 charges, or the person is prepared to cooperate, and so they get discounts in the sentencing and so on. That happens. Oftentimes, and that's part of the challenge, the victims and the parents of the victims are prepared to take money over the dignity of their children. So there's a lot of these cultural issues that we have to address. A lot of times these are also happening in circumstances where people are offered material things, phones, money, those kinds of things for behavior that should be condemned. So, if by the time we get to the place where it's only the police and the judges and the magistrates who are dealing with it, it's a little almost too late, because you already have a victim. And so what we want to emphasize is, yes, we need the stronger laws, and the Spotlight Initiative was meant to address a lot of that. But we also need to spend a lot more time on education and on prevention and making sure that people are not placed in vulnerable positions where people take advantage of them or groom them, as you so rightly pointed out. So we're very much aware of this. I certainly have a zero-tolerance approach to violence and to sexual violence against minors in particular, because to me that's almost destroying someone's life even before they get a chance to live. So it is something that I think we are acutely aware of, and certainly we are going to commit to, I think, as we go into 2025 and our legislation period, to make sure that we can get the necessary legislation passed, but also equally to commit to, as I said on Sunday, we don't need 16 days, we need 16 years. Because we really need to address some of the underlying cultural practices that encourages and supports this kind of a thing. We can't just, as you say, have outrage when the magistrate or judge gives what we perceive as a light sentence, when oftentimes many of us in the village know this is going on. Oftentimes the child reports it to a teacher or principal or fellow family member or adult repeatedly, and we turn a blind eye or don't do anything about it. So those are some of the things that we have to be able to address, but we certainly intend to get the Spotlight Initiative legislation passed so we can help address this. I also made the point, and I want to repeat it. The prison probably has 5 females, if all that, at any given time. And almost 400 men, most of whom are probably young men. And most of the violence, or a vast majority of the violence, that is perpetrated by men is against men. Is a young man chopping off the hand of another young man, a young man shooting another young man, a young man fighting with another young man. And we have 400 persons, mostly male, sitting in a prison, probably largely unproductive, which we, the taxpayers, all of us out here, every time you buy something and there's 15% VAT on it, a portion of that 15% that we pay helps to support the prison's budget. So the more people we have in prison is the more unproductive our societies, because we're taking our own taxpayers' money to fund the prison, to lock people up, oftentimes to do nothing. And if they're locked up, it means they're the father or uncle or brother of somebody, and probably would have also done something to someone who's now also worse off, because if you kill a father or brother or you cut their hands off, they themselves can't work. So we definitely have to spend a lot of time addressing our young men and saving them, because if we don't, the women are going to suffer, the children are going to suffer, and men are going to suffer, and by obviously the entire society is suffering. So it's important for us to recognize that from parenting, which is one of the major challenges, a lot of the young men where they end up simply have no parenting support. And parenting, and also in the schools, we obviously need to do a better job of how we educate and train young men. How young men behave is not how young women behave, and we have to accept that. They sit down and follow orders, strict sort of military type approach to education, especially for young energetic boys, is just not something that works. And we have to be able to address those things and be a little more nuanced in our approach to how we educate boys, to make sure that we can make them productive and functioning, and that they can handle disputes and so on, without always resorting to violence or ending in violence. And then we have to talk about things like the substance abuse, alcohol in particular. A large percentage of the violence involves or surrounds the abuse of alcohol. So that's another issue that we have to be able to tackle as well. So I think you want a response from seeing your hand.
As you made a point about education, and we see that many of our young men are turning out to be, their full potential is not being realized. And one of the factors I think that is responsible for that is the lack of diagnosing learning disabilities. Learning disability, it does not have a face. So you cannot always look at someone. Some people have physical disabilities, but learning disability, it does not have a face. So you will see this young boy, young girl, and they're looking normal. They're good, they're playing everything, but they have learning problems. And this is one of the main factors that cause a lot of student dropout, because sometimes you're in school and you're using all kinds of strategies, and it's not reaching them. And we are not, as teachers, you're not able to diagnose a child, right? So I'm asking if there can be something from the government's side, I don't know, something to help with the diagnosing of our young people. So as teachers, we know that we are not able to diagnose them, but if they are diagnosed, you have dyslexia, you have, how you call it, dyscalculia, thank you. Whatever other learning disability, there are resources online that teachers can access to be able to reach these individuals. But if you do not know what you're dealing with, and you come into the class and you're using all kinds of strategies, it's not reaching them. It's not reaching them, and it's frustrating. Well, I'm speaking as a young teacher. It's frustrating sometimes having to deal with different situations that's happening. You're trying all kinds of strategies, and sometimes it's just not reaching. And it's because no matter what strategy you're using, you are not touching whatever it is the problem. So that problem will continue to persist, and then you see these children, and it's mainly boys, their focus is not there. So you see they're engaging in all other things, they're distracting others. When they reach to secondary school, and we have a lot with the universal education that goes to the secondary school. When they reach to the secondary school, I'm sure if the principal of this secondary school was here, she would be able to tell you of some of the issues that she's having. And the majority of them that she's having the issues with, most likely, are those who are not able to do the academics. How we have it working for us, right? So as a nation, we will continue to see a lot of our young men falling by the wayside if we do not address the problem. So we just, the ending up in prison, these are just the effects. These are just the effects of the main problem. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Barry. So we have 2 more questions. Ms. Mack?
So this is pertaining to the basketball court at Victoria. This is on behalf of the young guys behind me. They play basketball and they can play basketball. They represent our parish of Victoria and they are doing great. So the fencing, it's terrible. It's in a terrible state. So it needs to be replaced, and the backboard as well as the hoops needs to be replaced. If you look around, sometimes you would go on the court and you would see young people, well, specifically boys, because not really much girls interested in playing basketball. You would see the boys coming out and playing. So we in need of facilities, we in need of supplies in order to help them be champions. So we need help, Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let me take that, Dana, Ms. Mack. Your suggestion has been noted. However, we are in the process of doing it. We already procured the materials and so on, so we will be doing it very, very soon. The backboard is now being made by, we contracted someone to do it. We've gotten the pair of rings, the pair of hoops. Right now, as we speak, we are doing the renovations on St. Mark's Secondary School court right there. As we speak, we're doing over the fencing and we're doing the backboards and hoops and so on. So after that project is completed, the next step is Victoria Hard Court. So we are doing it. All right.
All right, thank you, Senator. Mr. Noel?
Good night, everyone. My first question. Before I say my first question, I want us to speak to something that is really relevant and also prevalent in our community, or Grenada on a whole, which is mental health. And I think the Honorable Delma Thomas would be in a position to answer those questions. So my first question, how does the government plan to provide students with greater access to mental health support in school? Secondly, do you believe that our healthcare system is adequately equipped to support and treat mental health needs? Thirdly, what plans are in place, if there is any, to reducing youth mental health and suicide?
The first one, tell me the first one again, so I'll answer one at a time.
Yes. How does the government plan to provide students with greater access to mental health support in schools?
So we believe as a government and as a new Ministry of Mental Health, and we have started this year in terms of educating, providing the education at the level of the school and at the level of the community. So we have already started. In fact, we had some training in St. Andrew, we had Grenville Secondary, we had Convent, and I think we had SAS. And so it is our aim, our objective, one of our objectives is to ensure that in 2025, we provide not only education by going to the schools, but also have programs and radio programs and televised programs, and we know many of you in the social media space, so provide those kind of education for our people where we can not only come to you and provide those issue of mental health, because we know that mental health, because of the stigma, even when you have challenges, you find it difficult maybe to go to a particular center or to even raise those issues at the school. So we are looking to provide online access, and so this year we had specialists from London who have started not working fully. He has volunteered, but we are hoping to take him on board, and others like him who can provide the support. So when you're talking, yes, you're talking to somebody, but it's not somebody in Grenada, so you feel free to tell them. And so we have many of our students and we have adults too who received such training and came back and said how effective it was, because of the person is not there and they're not feeling scared and all that. So we as a government and we as a Ministry of Mental Health will continue to provide that engagement with young people at the school, as I said earlier, and so we'll even have community interventions. And so we have had many training, and we have our community health nurses who go around within the community. So they come to St. Mark, they come to St. Patrick, and so they will intensify by going to the schools. And so we had a series of training and trainers, they'll come and even train the teachers to identify issues within children with mental health challenges. Second one.
Mental health needs.
So if I'm going to be honest with you, over the years, we have not given mental health the priority it deserves. But the very fact that this government has established a ministry for mental health tells you that we are equipping ourselves. So we are looking to provide the training, so we'll have more mental health and specialized training. And so within our 2025 budget, we'll be providing support to 2 nurses who will go overseas, and we'll look at even asking for scholarships for specialized areas, because we appreciate that we need more specialists in that field. So we are not there yet, but we are striving to be there. Just recently, we had a team from Mount Sinai who came with medical mental health experts. So 2 of them who came and provide training to our local staff. And so they are able now to go and train other people. And so we'll continue to do more of that so that we can have specialized people dealing and treating with the issue of mental health.
Before you ask the next question, at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, we have the social care unit that caters to our young people who may have mental health challenges and need the support that they so deserve. We also have our staff at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, or the Division of Youth, being trained in first aid, mental health first aid. So these are so that when our staff goes out, they are equipped and they know how to resource and outsource to help our young people.
To you, our Prime Minister, my last question. What aspects of today's youth makes you hopeful about the future? What aspects of today's youth makes you hopeful about the future?
Well, almost every aspect of today's youth. So I'll probably highlight just some of the attributes. First, I think we can just simply talk about talent. The reality is that I think as Grenadians, we are blessed with a lot of talented people in all walks of life. Brilliant minds, brilliant athletes, brilliant creative people. What I think we need to do is to be able to harness that creativity. And I will stick to creativity because I think our traditional education system has been able to harness academic brilliance largely and has, to some extent, beaten the creativity out of us. And I'm saying this because my daughter told me so, and she's 13 years old. She asked me if I was sending her to school to beat the creativity out of her. Now, it may sound like a joke, but I took the question or the comment very seriously, and I admitted to some extent that that was the case, that the education system is set up to babysit our children, because the modern world has developed where the pursuit of material things and work, to a large extent, forms the basis upon which society is ordered. So you need a place to house children by the thousands so that their parents can work. That is basically the truth. The question then is, what do you do in the meantime? Do you encourage creativity, problem solving, collaboration, or do you just simply say, I'm just babysitting? And to some extent, this may sound harsh, part of the education system is just babysitting. Right? So we have to be able to change that and make sure that, in fact, we don't just encourage academic brilliance, we don't just encourage people to sit and comply or obey an order, but we encourage people to work together, to be collaborative, to be problem solvers, to think about the fact that they will live in the country for the next 50 years, and so they should pursue areas of growth and development that promotes them as human beings and that encourages the things that are unique about our culture. So we have to be able to understand the importance of things like music, or fashion, or design, or drumming, or painting, sports, and digital education, because the use of technology is going to be a major, if not the major disruptor, and one of the things that is going to have a significant impact on the future of the world. So my sense is that if you look at any child who is 15 years and younger, they know that they belong to the technology era. They could do things with the phone, with the tablet, with the technology that you can't even understand. So instinctively and intuitively, they know that. I think what we have to be able to do is, instead of fighting that, instead of saying don't come to school with a phone, put away the tablet, we should actually take the opposite. We should encourage it, we should support it, and we should let them unleash their creativity. So, I mean, I'm going to use my daughter a little as an example. She told me she was doing a Christmas wish list. So I thought I was going to get a handwritten Christmas wish list. I got a video of a Christmas wish list. So the point I'm making is that as early as 12, 11, and 13, they're already doing things and know things that I don't know anything about. I would never be able to produce a video for anything. And at 10 and 11 and 12, they can do it. So the point I'm making is the education system has to be able to see this as talent, see this as the opportunity for someone like that to earn a living. That's what media homes and houses and advertising agencies and so on do. And they could already do that. But instead of encouraging that, we will probably say, put the phone away, what you're doing on the phone, listen to what I have to say. Right? But the reality is the technology don't actually need them to listen to what you have to say. Right? Especially if it's just regurgitating knowledge, as opposed to perhaps teaching them more soft skills, emotional intelligence, cooperation, behavioral skills, conflict resolution. Those are the things we need to teach them, because the technology can't teach them that. But the technology could tell them anything about Grenada's history. The technology could write an entire story about Grenada for them. And I'm saying this because I gave this example 2-3 years ago, I think. I went to my daughter's graduation. I'd forgotten that I had to give a speech. That's a graduation from primary school, and she's now in Form 2. And I took my phone, and in 30 seconds, I asked ChatGPT to write a graduation speech from it. It gave me 4 versions of the speech. I got up, I read one of them. I got a lot of claps. And in the end, I said to the teachers, just so you understand what you are going to have to deal with, ChatGPT just wrote the speech for me in 5 minutes. And they would not have known if I didn't say that. Nobody would have known. I think my son said he noticed something on my phone. And again, it's the young people who will pick it up. So I'm saying this to say there is tremendous opportunities out there. But we have to actually, we have to let go of the little timidity and the fear. We have to be a bit more courageous, or the world will leave us behind. right? And so I know the young people know that. I see that in them. I think they know that they belong to this future now, and we have to make sure that we are supporting them and encouraging them and not blocking them or preventing them because we want them to live like how we lived, right? That just can't happen. So that in and of itself makes me optimistic about the future of Grenada. And I also find the young people, in my view, very kind to one another. And we have to encourage and support, a more gentle, kinder, supportive generation, rather than one that is combative and wanting to hold on or prevent someone else from succeeding. So we have to make sure that they understand the power of collaboration, and that if they collaborate, they are more likely to succeed together than if they just compete with one another. So thank you very much for the question.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mitchell.
Good night, Mr. Prime Minister. I was waiting for you long to make that request. Being as I'm a national youth debater, also a member of CYN, and well, I'm not only speaking as for debaters of Grenada, also speaking on national queens, persons who win queen before. We do get opportunities to travel because I'm like in 1,000 group chat. I do get opportunity to travel, but we have to get visa. So on behalf of national youth debaters, queen who have and who will looking to become queens for Grenada, national queens I'm talking about, I'm requesting that we get a diplomatic passport. Please, Mr. PM, on behalf of us. I know it might be laugh, but I'm telling you, we get thousands of opportunities, but we have to get the requirements, which we don't. My next request is on farmers, right? There is a lot of young farmers up my side I know of sending their requests on the burial relief funds, and up to today, they has not getting anything like that. Mind you, when they call, because the majority of them has full up their form from GCNA, I'm just speaking with facts, and when you call GCNA, they will give you a number to call the head office in GCNA. When you call the head office, they will tell you this is not to them. The thing came from the Ministry of Agriculture and Land and Fisheries and whatever, which the farmers don't have a contact in getting to. Which I find, well, I know of some of them land is not being worked, and some of them are looking for that same funds to start doing back the agriculture. So I'm a bit concerned on the farmers' end, and as I said, on the debaters and the national queens was and to be. We need diplomatic passport.
So, because it's on Mitchell, you feel you get special privileges? Not all Mitchells are related.
On the question of the farmers, there are 2 extension offices from the Ministry of Agriculture, I'm told, in Black Bay and one in Plains. So if the farmers, I'm saying if because I'm not sure, if the farmers did not go in to give their names at the extension offices, they should do so. If they did, and they have not received compensation, if we can get the names of the farmers, we'd be happy to inquire into it. Up to yesterday, we were assured by the chief extension officer that there was probably about 40 names that were outstanding and that had been received from the Cocoa and Nutmeg Association for whom payments were being processed, and that they expected the payments would probably be ready this week or next week. So I don't know whether those persons who you're speaking about are part of that 40 persons who are yet to be paid or not. So if we get the names and contact numbers for the persons, then we'll be able to verify from the Ministry of Agriculture. On the question of the challenges with visas, well, what I can say is that I think for persons who are representing Grenada in things because of youth debates and so on, I certainly believe the Ministry of Youth or any other appropriate ministry would be happy to write a supporting letter to the countries where we need to get the visas to allow them to travel. We generally can't issue diplomatic visas except to diplomats or in exceptional circumstances because there are consequences for doing so as well. But certainly we will be prepared to do anything we can to support persons who are representing the country nationally in any field of endeavor, sports, culture, arts, to try and facilitate the obtaining of visas. But ultimately, each country has the right to grant or refuse a visa, and there's oftentimes very little that we can do about it. So Thank you.
Okay, so we have Ms. Cyrus.
Mr. Prime Minister, my question is now directed to you. I will mainly speak on education now. My first question, but before I give the question, realizing for the longest while, I would have seen so many scholarships available for the people of Grenada. And for the past few years, that scholarship program to Mexico was one that has been widely spoken about. But for now, I haven't been hearing anything about it. Is this scholarship program still available to Mexico? If not, why is that?
I may actually have to check and come back to you on it. I certainly know that in a meeting that I had with the Mexican ambassador as well as with the Minister for Foreign Affairs, that the ambassador did indicate that Mexico was prepared to continue giving scholarships to Grenada. I wasn't sure whether it was being given directly through Grenada or through the Organization of American States. So we'd have to verify that, but certainly I know of quite a few students who went to Mexico, couldn't even speak Spanish when they went, and had the double benefit of becoming bilingual and also graduating and going on to have masters, in some cases even PhD degrees. So we are keen to get scholarships from any country in Central or South America that we can, and elsewhere. We're also looking at signing a memorandum of understanding with Morocco as well to allow for scholarships to be obtained from there. So any country that is prepared to offer scholarships to Grenada. We have Monroe College in the United States that we've also recently signed with, and I think we are expecting as many as 50 scholarships to start with, partly funded by the government of Grenada as well. The areas of studies will be published shortly by the Ministry of Education and so on. So we're doing everything to encourage more access to scholarship. One of the things the government, the party, campaigned on was encouraging each household in Grenada to have a university graduate. And that's one of the things we are committed to, because we firmly believe that that actually has the ability to transform the life of the household itself. Right? I'm living proof of that. And therefore, we are very keen to make sure that any offers we have that allows, particularly for university scholarships, to our citizens, that we're going to be able to take them and offer them to the citizens. So thank you for flagging that. I will make a note and send a note to the Minister of Foreign Affairs now to follow up so that he can give me a response. Thank you.
Second, I am a teacher at the St. John's Christian Secondary School and a geography teacher, to be exact. Currently, from this week, we will be delving our students into the IT part of geography, where they will now be mapping the entire land, be able to calculate volume and so forth. So my question, is there plans, I'm speaking for geography in education per Grenada, especially at the secondary level. Is there plans to bring about IT, incorporate IT in geography in our secondary schools?
You're putting me on the spot. I may have to ask the Minister of Education. I'm a firm believer in technology. Right? In fact, I think I became a successful lawyer because I embraced technology much faster. And law is a very traditional profession. But I discovered very early as a young lawyer that if I use technology, I could become 10 times more productive than if I didn't. And it allowed me, I think, even internationally, to be able to compete with law firms outside of Grenada. I had 10 lawyers, a lawyer specializing in everything. And the only specialist I had was the technology. So that I was able to respond faster, I was able to do things faster. And to me, technology should be incorporated in every aspect of our education. Every aspect. And I don't want to use the incorrect technical terms, but I think there is enough technology now to completely transform how something like geography is taught in school. Because you obviously have now so much content, so much data, so much visual. You've got satellite imagery, you've got all kinds of imagery. I mean, just looking at Hurricane Beryl, for example, we were able to give preliminary indication of the kind of loss and damage or the loss of vegetation by simply comparing before and after satellite photos. So you could almost tell how many homes disappeared with 2 photographs, which if you didn't have, you'd have to go on the ground and count, and so on. So I really do think we need to bring the technology into the classroom, make sure the teachers also trained and receptive to that, so that we can leverage that. So what I can take back to the Minister of Education is the fact that as a teacher, you too are asking for the opportunity to do so. I would also say something else. Change doesn't always come from the top. Most times change comes from the bottom or from an outsider. And I think as teachers, and particularly young teachers, you shouldn't always depend on the Ministry of Education to drive change. You can become the change. Because in a sense, somebody has to create the curriculum. And it's not always the administrator or administrators. You're the one in the classroom. And if you see an opportunity to introduce technology and to excite your children and to give them the opportunity to be better at what they do, create your own curriculum. Push the envelope and then take it to whoever is the high up in the hierarchy of the education system and saying, I'm doing this, I'm seeing the results, let us change, let us adopt. Because if you still come with a physical book to teach geography, I don't know if they're still doing it that way. I don't think any child is going to be interested in that when you can go on the computer. You have Google Maps, you have Google Earth, you have all kinds of things that you can use. I don't see anybody coming there now with a even, I'll give an example. We're able to use the satellite imagery now to quickly assess, for example, that in some cases, the landslides that we've had, there was a landslide that the CTO just showed me in Bolio, I think, or Vendom. And you could easily point to that the amount of soil that collapsed is as much as a 10-story building. Because you can actually measure quite quickly the amount of soil that slipped from the height to the road. And you can do that quite easy now using the technology. So I really do think it's an opportunity for you, even if the Ministry of Education is not doing it, to start introducing it in your classroom. And I think you'd probably see that the students would be far more excited than the traditional approach of a paper. We can make our classrooms paperless. Right? It's healthier, it's cleaner. We don't have to break the children's back with these big bag of books that I see. We're probably giving people all kinds of spine problems later on in life with these big heavy bags that we ask them to carry around every day. So I'm saying this to say I don't want to sound like a radical or a rebel, but I'm just saying if we don't push the change ourselves, the people, the gatekeepers themselves just want to keep the gate. Right? They're not going to push the envelope because they just didn't go to school in that time. And so it's for us, if we're going to create the changes, we have to create the changes ourselves. Or then it will not happen, or it will happen too slowly, and some of our children will get left behind. All right, so please, I don't know what weight my voice carries, but I would say you could be the change that we need in the classroom when it comes to introducing the technology that we need to help better educate our students.
As I've taught episode, my students will be delving into that. And it's a question, but it's more of a suggestion. There are so many young people even sitting here that would like to be a teacher, I believe, in the future as well. And of course, coming with being a teacher, there are so many things we must be prepared to do. There is that daily and weekly focus we must plan. And we may say, yes, there is a head of department, there are other teachers that can give us the assistance. But I believe once we are delving into training in different fields, teaching is one of those things that we can incorporate. So young people can now have that firsthand, that stepping stone, so they'll be able to adapt in the classroom, knowing what has to be done and what will be done. So, question now, would you in the near future, would teaching be one of those trainings that we will soon offer to our young people? I'm not looking at teachers' education at T.A. Marichaud Community College. I'm looking at otherwise.
Well, I think it's a good suggestion. I know the Minister of Education, as an aspiration, really wants to get to a point where no one should be asked to enter the classroom to teach without having been trained to teach. And I know the current system, most people enter the classroom without being trained to teach, sometimes for a very long time, and then you go to teacher training, which by then might just be too little too late, because whatever bad habits you've had to form on your own because you've had no training, whatever challenges you've had to be able to come across, So I certainly think it's a very good and useful suggestion, and perhaps we need to take a deeper look at how we actually introduce, even if it's short-term training, before someone comes into the classroom. I mean, I taught for 2 years. I went straight to the National College with good or bad habits, and went straight back into the classroom in PBC teaching Form 4 and Form 5. I would say thank God it was only Form 4 and Form 5, because I don't know I would have been able to manage with Form 1 and 2s. But the truth is, I mean, you're winging it. It's hit and miss. You know, if you're not confident, because I saw it where similar experiences when I was a student, where a teacher came straight back from National College, and I felt sorry. I was in Form 4. I actually felt sorry for the teacher, because the teacher was so nervous. In my view, lacked confidence, that they literally were shaking in front of us. And if you come in front of a group of boys in Form 4 and you're shaking as a teacher, you know what's going to happen? They're going to tease you, and it just got worse. I mean, after a month, the teacher left, because they simply couldn't. I think it's just the confidence and the public speaking. So if you're not trained for that, then you could be scarred for life, because then you have to work on this terrible experience of spending 1 month in front of a classroom where people are teasing you, you can't control the class, etc., etc. So I think, in a more systematic manner, even introducing training in schools while you're in school could certainly help, because it's a dramatically different thing sitting there, and then, you know, after one summer, you come back and you up here, and then you have to be able to convey and communicate and control and do public speaking and manage your own anger or your own frustration when you have 30 or 40 young boys or girls screaming or making noise or not bothering you and so on. So it's a very difficult job. So I certainly think there should be systematic training throughout, not just, you know, the teacher training system. So it's something that I think we would certainly need to relook. And if we did that, we may very well find better outcomes and people not seeing teaching as a pass-through. I'll be honest, that's what I saw it as, 2 years just to get a job while I figure out what I was doing with my life. And obviously teaching is a wonderful vocation. So it's a very worthy suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, so now I would like to apologize, but we are a little pressed for time. So we'll have one last question from Mr. Whelan, and just make it brief. Thank you. I know that early in the new year, we'll be coming back to St. Mark, but this time we'll be going to the various communities. So at least you will get another opportunity to really raise some of your concerns.
All right, pleasant good night to everybody. Just one question in terms of the Bel Air pasture, right? I know that it has been going on for a while now. We already have our infrastructure where the building is completed, but there isn't anything going on with the pasture itself, right? So in going forward, I would just like to know if ever there are any plans put in place where, you know, we can at least get the pasture finished, because on my side, I could say, well, Industry St. Mark's, that's just around resource area. We grew up playing cricket in the road, playing football in the road. Whenever we had to have any sporting event, we either had to go to Shantimel or we go to Victoria or Nonpareil. So which means that we doesn't really have a pasture around our area. So my question is there any infrastructure put in place to the completion of the pasture at Bel Air? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Though that playing field, unfortunately, it is in that situation because it's something that we had inherited. It has never been completed. The topsoil, you know what's the situation there. When you go there, the topsoil, we got some Cuban engineers to come and take a look at it to give us the best design, because one of the problems that we have there is drainage. Whenever there is heavy rainfall, you have something like a ravine going across the pasture. Was it the best place or the most suited place for our pasture? That's another question. What we together with the Ministry of Sports, we plan on addressing that. We really hope that it can be done very, very soon. One of the challenges that we have right now, and I'm glad you make mention of, there's an excellent facility there as a pavilion. Sad to say, it is used as a goat pen. If you go there right now, I could guarantee you, if you want a goat, you could go there tonight. It is used as a goat pen, and I want the people in the community, let me raise that concern that if you have a facility, even if it belongs to government, the facility is for the public to use, so you take care of the facility. In recent times, we've been experiencing a lot of vandalism to that facility. We have changed doors. We even put the burglar bars, the gates, we put on that because of vandalism. We are in the process of getting some electricity to go up to that area so that we can outfit the facility with proper lighting, maybe put security cameras if we able to. Also provide probably Wi-Fi so that when persons go there, and all that is in the completion of the playing field. But I want you to be the watchful eyes, because it's the facility. We spend money, well, not this administration, but is erected, and we must take care of it. A most recent thing that, as late as last week, well, before that, we visited the facility and we realized that they constantly breaking the pipe, right, just to access some water, breaking the pipe because the pipe is connected to the building. So when we noticed that, what I did, myself and the community liaison officer, we put a padlock on just before the meter. They broke that. And a lady in the community called me and she said, look, Senator, water been running here for a couple of days. So I called Nawasa. Nawasa had agreed to, reconnect and put a proper meter and to try to protect it as much as possible. So I say all that to say is that we'll have the facilities, but we as a community need to take care of the facility, right? So this issue that we're having there with the goat pen, that is unacceptable. I reached out to the owner, who they told me that the goats belong to. I said to him, you cannot use the facility to house your goats. When you go, there's a lot of feces, and it's really, really unsightly. So the onus would be on the community to ensure that when the facility, even all know, because there's a wonderful pavilion there, you could probably have some social events and so on right there, but look at the state of it right now. So the onus would be on us as a community to ensure that we take care of whatever facility that government has, all right? So to answer your question, yes, we will do something about the playing field to get it completed. As soon as we have the proper designs and so on, we will do it, and we hope that is very, very soon.
We are in St. Mark. Grand Prouvaire is the old label that we really need to discard and just not remember. What my concern is, we have a library in Victoria that is closed. We have a resource center that is always closed. Moran is closed, and also Coast Guard is closed. We have youth that have been in a bit of trouble over the summer, and I'm saying this because I'm very concerned that we are neglecting the youth of St. Mark. They need to have community centers open with a number of different activities. The question I need to know is who's responsible for actually getting those activities provided once these community centers in St. Mark are opened up once again.
Depending on the specific facilities, if it's a library, it should fall under the Ministry of Education. If it's community centers, it should fall under the Ministry of Social and Community Development. And for most of the community centers, the process is that there should be a management committee in place made up essentially of members of the community, and perhaps a rep from the Ministry of Social and Community Development, so that the communities can drive the use of the community centers. I mean, they call community centers because what you want to do is give the community access to it so that they can pretty much do anything they want within the law that would support and encourage debate, discussion, social activities, learning, etc. So Well, I would therefore say we perhaps then should look to have an engagement with the Ministry of Social and Community Development. But remember, the government is not the community, right? So while the government could do the facilities, have training programs, etc., we need community groups, we need youth groups, women groups, debating clubs, chess clubs, table tennis club, basketball teams. You know, people want to learn to cook. We need people actually who want to use the community center and the facilities to be able to say so and to give access, so that once the building is functional, that it can be used. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm subject to correction, that both the Ministry of Youth and the Ministry of Social and Community Development should have, I think, resource personnel who can help communities, if they don't have a community group, to be able to in fact establish one, help them explain one, etc. So perhaps the Ministry of Youth could help on this issue.
And if I may add, the two of the community spaces that I speak of, the resource center is currently, it is being managed by SMOD, St. Mark's Organization for Development. So anytime you have to use that facility, you reach out to SMOD and they allow you to use the facility. Most of the time, if ever, you may pay a small contribution because there are utilities there that you have to take care of on a monthly basis. In Maran Community Center, we have to do some upgrade there. It is done to do upgrades, so too is Coast Guard. And in Non-Parallel, we have the community center. They recently did some upgrade there, and there is a community group, management community group that is responsible for the Non-Parallel Community Center. So the Ministry of Social Development, Community Development, is the one responsible for that, and so just to provide a little bit of clarity so that you know where we stand with that.
Okay, and for our final question,
Richard,
Mr. Augustine.
Richard, so as PM mentioned, the community groups, we at the Ministry of Youth, we are actually encouraging through our youth associates and our parish youth coordinators to for community to actually start forming community groups. Now we know that a lot of the times the question will come back, then what is the government doing to support those groups? I think I mentioned that previously. We have the incentive of the $5,000 that community groups are afforded to take on projects in the community. That can be something within the community center. It can start a program which probably, providing refreshments for whatever programs they're doing within the community center, all of those different things. Through the youth parliamentarians and the youth ambassadors, they can also help with coming up with some of the programs and projects within the communities that can utilize fully the community and resource centers. So we do have that available for community from the Ministry of Youth and Sports.
Okay, so our final question, Mr. Augustine.
Yeah, good night, Prime Minister. I'm really proud of you. I never thought in my lifetime I would have lived to see someone young as you taking up the mantle. When I was growing up, I heard about a guy called Atlas carry the world on his back. Well, I laugh at it, but it's serious. But here I am seeing you, Atlas, in person, because Grenada is on your back. And I've been disappointed in the amount of youth I've seen here. There should have been more youth. I'm over the age, but I'm still here. I'm not satisfied with the amount of youth that is here and the opportunity that you and your government presenting. In my lifetime, I never got it. So I'm kind of jealous. But never mind. I see that you have the youth on your back. Congratulations. My point, recently in Grenada, there's a lot of crime, killing. And what I see now, when you kill a man, like you're getting bail, those set right with me. Because the good book say, thou shalt not kill. But there is a law. There is laws. Man getting bail. So what kind of incentive that's sending to the man who thinking about killing, he could just go and kill and get away? That's how I see it, and that's how it is. I think you, as the Prime Minister and your cabinet, should go back and do some join board and do something about it, because if a man tell a man, I kill a man and I could get away, and next man have the same idea to go and kill, so the killing won't stop. So we have to take it from the root. And then again, my second point now, there is a lot of youth men, young men, that kill and go to jail. And when they come out, I want to know if their mentality change, because when they go and sit down around their friends, they want to tell them about the ordeals. Look, they do that, they spend time and they come out. So that's sending a message to those who wrong them to think about continue to kill. We have to put things in place where that youth could turn around from inside the jail, so when he come out, he could send a message so his friend could learn and avoid from getting in the lineage of killing. Because I see youth go to the center, detention center, and when they come around, well, I'm a fisherman, and they come around the net, and I check his attitude. I say, well, he was just detained, you just released, and like nothing really changed. So that is my thing to you. And another thing, Mr. Prime Minister, burial pass, the stamp pass, we need in a serious situation. I'm talking about the food. Teach your people to plant. We talk about all the amount of education, but we need food to sustain ourselves. Without food, we cannot do nothing. Please, Mr. Prime Minister, Grenada have to grow more food for we to survive. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your comments. I want to say that it's not too late. The opportunities that have been offered to the youth, in fact, I told the Minister of Youth that sometimes when I see the 35 age range put in, that we might be creating an artificial barrier, because if it's an opportunity for somebody to get a second chance, as long as you're alive, you deserve a second chance or an opportunity to do something. So, I mean, while obviously this is the Ministry of Youth, and I'm saying this because I actually had a lady approach me in St. David. We were doing a sewing fashion design course, and we didn't have any age group. And when I went there, she said, thank you for not having the age group, because oftentimes she see a lot of initiatives and there's always 35 and under, 40 and under. And she was getting the opportunity to do something that she always wanted to do, which is to learn to sew and to be able to make and fix and design clothes. So I'm just saying, if there are things that you hear that is happening here and you have the time, you know, still check out the Ministry of Youth. I don't think they would say to you, you're too old and we're not offering you the service. So I'm just saying, you know, learning is a lifelong habit. And any opportunity to learn something new, we shouldn't say I'm too old, which is one of the problems I think we have here. People say things like I'm too old to do this and I'm too old to do this. That's an excuse for not continuing to grow. I just want to say thank you for the comments, and particularly about there's some parts of Grenada that we ignore. The prison is one of them. You know, we ignore the prisoners, we ignore the prison officers, we ignore the fact that we have a prison, because it's kind of like not in my backyard, as long as somebody else is dealing with it. But the fact is, it is in our backyard, and it's in a very prominent location, and if something were to go wrong at the prison, all of us, one way or the other, would probably be a little more uneasy than we are. So reducing the prison population itself is a goal, right? We shouldn't be proud that we have hundreds of young men locked up. So it means we have to find a way to make sure they're not in prison, and that when they do go to prison, that they do not go back. So, but we have a lot of challenges, because the building that houses the prison is not fit for purpose. It's an old building, hundreds of years old. The structure of the building, we really don't even know. And with the kind of rain, with the kind of hurricanes and so on that we've had, and I'm sure we will recall that in Hurricane Ivan, the entire prison population essentially escaped. Thankfully, the prisoners, most of them on their own, went back after things were resolved. So it does show that Grenada is a bit of a special place. But we definitely have to look at a new prison, a much more fit for purpose facility, and then we have to begin to work earnestly on reducing the prison population by ensuring that people do not actually get to the point where they've done something that requires them to go to prison. There are a lot of little petty stuff that we send people to prison for that they should not be going to prison for. Traffic offenses, obscene language, those kinds of things. But there are other things that we need to send people to prison for, and probably send them to prison for a longer time. I certainly don't think that if someone is accused of killing someone, and most times in Grenada, people kill people in full view of everybody. It's a crime of passion. They may stab them, they may shoot them, they what have you. So there might be mitigating circumstances, or there might be a genuine fight and there's a question of self-defense. But I'm not a fan of granting bail if someone is accused of murder. And it's something that in the Caribbean, it's a challenge because the politicians don't sentence people, it's the judges. And if you criticize that, they say you're interfering with the work of the judiciary and you're politicizing everything. It's something that we are talking about in CARICOM because the judges live in the Caribbean, they live here. And they have to understand the reality of what we're going through. And we are hoping that we can have the necessary conversations to say there are certain things that we should push back against and not normalize. Killing people should never be normalized. And not having consequences for taking someone's life should never be normalized. Raping people, sexually abusing minors, are not things that we should be normalizing by suggesting that you get away with a slap on the wrist. So we certainly recognize that that's one of the challenges we have to work at. Grenada has a very high rate of people returning to prison, right? And that is also something that we have to be able to address. And the only way we're going to have to address it is having the appropriate courses, the education, and the resources in prison to actually make sure that we can separate perhaps prisoners who are beyond redemption, the older hardcore prisoners, from young men or young women who probably just need guidance. So those are some of the things we need to work on. But we also have to care a little more about each other. I mean, I went to Bacolod Detention Center, and when I hear some of the reasons why the young men are there, they shouldn't be there, if they're telling the truth. You have young men saying they're there because they ate their sister loaf of bread. And the mother and them had a fight or argument over it, and then they call the people and they take them in and bring them in the detention center. I mean, that's your son. So and I'm saying this because those are things we know is happening and we don't talk about it. Or you could send someone to a detention center because they eat more bread than you think they should eat in the house. So in a sense, you are creating the criminal. So there's a lot of that, and that's where it comes back to the parenting, right? So there's a lot of that is happening, and we have to be able to say this is a normal challenge, particularly for boys. You want the bigger fish, you want the bigger piece of chicken. That's just normal. You have to learn to negotiate, how to share, how to say no. If it's not yours, you have to ask for it. You ask your sister, maybe she might say okay, But you don't send someone to a detention center or call the police and then create that kind of a situation. So there's a lot of that we have to work on to make sure that we don't create criminals by being harsh in how we treat them or speak with them, and then we demonize them, and then obviously before you know it, they figure, well, I have nothing to live for. Because if your parents send you to a detention center, then obviously, what am I living for? So those are some of the things that we have to be able to treat with to make sure that we don't create more problems than we need. But finally, your point about agriculture, all I would say is that I agree 100%. The land hasn't disappeared. There might be little landslides and so on, but we need to appreciate that. And I think if COVID didn't teach us that, then nothing else will. I think most people all of a sudden discover that things would grow in Grenada if you plant it, and that you could make a lot of the things yourself. But I think things have eased up, and we've gone back to buying cornflakes and a lot of sugar and imported goods that are very expensive, when we could do a lot of our own things here. I mean, all of this breakfast stuff, cereals and so on, that is basically processed stuff with a lot of sugar, a lot of salt. And we have a lot of the same stuff here that we could make natural porridges and so on from, and we're not doing it. Right? Corn, cassava, Tanya, all these things, dasheen, all of that. But so we really have to the television has done a number on us since we started watching American cable TV in the last 30 years. So those are some of the things that we need to talk about. But that's why promoting your culture is important. If people see their culture on TV, they'll embrace it. They will get to appreciate it a lot more, and it will make it easier for them to change their own behavior. So we have to do a lot of that by making sure we teach people about our culture, teach people about our breadfruit, teach people about dasheen, tanya, yams, etc. If you go and you buy the $20 box of cereal for them and they're eating that in one go, that's $100 in breakfast alone just from a cereal box. And I could say that because if you have a 13-year-old or 14-year-old son and he's playing basketball and you're giving him sugar, he's eating the box of cereal in one go. And then he's still hungry. But if you give him a good farine, a good tanya log, he'll be satisfied and he'll have the energy to play. Right? But we are not saying those things. So I'm just giving this as examples of how we need to make sure that we go back to planting a lot of the stuff that we need, because the cost of living is high because we're importing the food. And once we're importing the food, we have no control over the cost of the food. So that's part of the things that we have to remember. So I agree with you on the agriculture, and you didn't say fishing, but you're a fisherman as well, so fishing is just as important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Any other closing remarks, or we call it?
Well, the closing remark is I was looking forward to a nice little farine or a little fish broth in St. Mark's, but...
Yeah, but then we have whole wheat breadfruit too, no?
Yeah, whole wheat breadfruit.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So, Mr.
Thank you.
Britton-
But no, on a serious note, I want to thank all of you for coming out and for sharing your thoughts and your ideas and your suggestions. They welcome, and I sometimes people might be cynical because I go, government come talking what will happen. I want to assure you that there's very little ideas that I have that are mine. So almost everything I say, it's because someone has said it to me, someone has written it. And so don't ever underestimate how your ideas could help influence or change or make a difference in government policy and in the lives of people, because ultimately that's what the government policy is about. How do you make the lives of people better? And that ultimately is what the focus is on, and each of us could do that. Each of us could come with ideas or suggestions that could be a solution to some challenge that St. Mark is facing, St. John, and by extension, Grenada is facing. So we look forward to continuing to work closely with you, continuing to communicate with you, and continuing to working and serving on your behalf. I came out in Carriacou today. There was a group of Trinidadians who, about 101 of them, I think, who came up and built 27 homes for the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. And their name is Hands That Serve. And I'm saying this because it shows how complete strangers who don't know you but see your need for help could be moved to come and help. And if strangers could do that for us, then we certainly should be able to help the people who are our family, who are our neighbors, who come from the same villages, the same parish, like us. And I think that's really the commitment that the Ministry of Youth has to making sure that it could serve the youth population and put all of us in a position where, in turn, we could be of service to each other. So thank you very much to Minister and the team, to Senator Britton and all of you for coming out and being of service to Grenada tonight. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. And please know that an invitation is extended to everyone here to attend the Youth and Recognition Rally and Recognition Ceremony at Radisson on Sunday. The first transportation will be provided, so persons who are interested you can give your names to the Youth Associates or Miss Sandy. But funny thing, somebody asked me to give me the name, so I say, when I give him a name, how you call me? Because one name I have, only Richard. So if I give him a name, I don't know how you're going to call me. So once again, give yourself a round of applause for turning out tonight. You did a splendid job. And then to bring the curtains down, gratitude is always a must. So I would now invite Mr. Akim Philip, our youth parliamentarian, to come and do the vote of thanks. Mr. Philip.
Good night, good night again, everyone. So, I know questions and things, but that's something I just wanted to bring up. As a teacher as well, and the processed foods in schools, maybe you could look into it. Cutting down how much processed foods is sold at school, and maybe encourage more healthy eating in schools, preventative care and all these things like that. Reduce diabetes and all these things.
Well, certainly, I was under the impression that they should not be selling any soft drinks and bubbly fruit and so on, and that they should be serving local juice and so on. So if that's not happening, then we're going to have to take it back to the Minister of Education to make sure that we understand that. Yeah, we have to make sure we don't become our own worst enemy. You know, there's enough fruit here that we can make all kinds of juices and drinks with. Sea moss alone, for example, even if you couldn't find citrus, you can certainly use sea moss to make with milk, without milk. You know, watermelon, as you said, Five Fingers, and so on. So we really shouldn't be selling soft drinks and sugary drinks at school. So thanks for that.
Welcome. Right, so, as Marcus Tullius Cicero said, gratitude is not only the greatest virtues, but the parent of all others. It is my profound honor tonight to extend this vote of thanks to all those who contributed towards the success of the St. Mark's Youth Talk. First and foremost, I would like to thank God for carrying us throughout the day safely, helping us to be here and ensuring that this event was incident-free. To the Prime Minister of Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique, Honorable Deacon Mitchell, I would like to express our deepest appreciation for gracing us with your presence and willingly engaging with us tonight. It speaks volumes about your commitment to the youth of our nation, and we feel truly honored to have you with us. To the Minister of Youth, Sports, Mental Health, Wellness, and Religious Affairs, Honorable Delma Thomas, a heartfelt thank you is extended to you. Your tireless efforts in shaping policies and initiatives that empower the youths are deeply appreciated. You are a true advocate for our growth, and we are grateful. A special thanks to Senator Honorable Queens Britton, Parliamentary Secretary within the Ministry of Tourism and the Creative Economy and Culture. Your support for youth involvement in culture and the creative industries has a significant impact on the opportunities available to young people, and we appreciate your advocacy in this area. We also extend sincere thanks and appreciation to Senator the Honorable Seville Francis, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Youth and Sport. Your commitment to creating spaces for youth to engage, grow, and thrive is deeply appreciated, and we are grateful for your efforts to ensure the youths of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique are well supported. To the coordinator within the Ministry of Youth and Sports, Ms. Colin Perryman, a special thanks is also extended to you. Your hard work and commitment in organizing and facilitating events like Youth Talk ensures that young people have a platform to engage, learn, and grow. We recognize and appreciate your dedication to the youth sector, and today's success is in large part due to your efforts. We also would like to recognize and thank the organizers and volunteers and everyone else who worked behind the scenes to bring this event to life. Your diligence to getting the task done has not gone unnoticed. We are truly grateful for your support. Finally, to all the youths who participated tonight, voicing your different concerns and suggestions, thank you immensely for your engagement and enthusiasm. Your presence today reflects the power of youth when we come together to share ideas, inspire each other, and work towards a better future. As we close, let us carry the energy, knowledge, and inspiration gained today in our communities. Together, we can continue to shape our nation for a brighter tomorrow. Once again, thank you, and may we all continue to strive for excellence in all that we do.
So it's my duty now to say thank you to the person who said thank you. Thank you, Mr. Philip. All right, so once again, there's refreshment at the back. Don't worry, take what you want. I'll pay for it with my card. So there's refreshment at the back. And there is Youth Talk Carriacou tomorrow. So you can check it out on our platforms. Also, Mikey? No, not both, only one. And we can go with two, or just one. Okay, so thank you. And yeah, you will live on our page tomorrow night, Youth Talk at Carriacou, and then looking forward to seeing everyone at Radisson on Sunday for the Youth Rally and recognition ceremony. Yeah, come with all your nice Dan, if you know what that means. And we will be launching the Elevate Her program. Oh, Ms. Perryman, yes, come and do the honors. Ms. Perryman will give you just a brief update on our new program we'll be launching.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. All right, I know we're still awake. I just wanted to share briefly that we will be launching a new program within the Ministry of Youth and Sports. I know Minister will be talking more about that, I think, on Sunday. So I'm inviting you guys to Radisson on Sunday so that you guys can hear about it, especially the females, because it's a program that is targeted to you. Minister mentioned it earlier, but by way of information, I just wanted to mention that the registration team will be in St. Mark, just want to get the date for you, at the Resource Center on the 6th of December for any female who is unemployed, underemployed, and is interested in this particular training session. You can get more details on our Facebook and Instagram page. And if you come out on Sunday, you will get even more details on that. Yeah? So once you're interested in that program, when you hear more about it, we'll be at the Resource Center in St. Mark from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the 6th of December. Thank you.
All right, so thank you, everyone. Hope you have a blessed evening. Oh, and one more thing, remember to push, P-U-S-H, pray until something happens. Put God first, second, and third, and everything else will come forth. Enjoy the rest of the evening.